So the application, and Wyndham will talk to this in a bit more detail, but the application from Wyndham that we're here to talk about tonight is to construct 4 new large landfill cell areas that will each be made up of multiple cells. And effectively what a cell is a designated area where the waste is being disposed of at any given point in time. And effectively you're only working with one cell at a time in terms of where the waste is going. The other part of the application from the council is to increase the height of 4 existing cells to the same maximum height that's allowed for under their current planning scheme. So that's the application we're talking about. So EPA has convened the conference tonight based on the submissions that we've received about Wyndham's landfill application. And so we've notified everyone that has submitted, made a submission to us regarding that application and let them know about tonight. And I'll talk about more details of submissions. We had about 175 submissions, and we notified those people about a fortnight ago. We also ran a media release, and I know it was picked up in the local paper as well to let other people know. So the conference tonight is a formal process under EPA's legislation, so it's under Section 20B of the Environment Protection Act. And really the primary purpose is to enable us to understand the views and the concerns of community and stakeholders. It also gives us an opportunity, which is really what I'm going to do in the next 5 minutes, just to explain the works approval process and where we're at in that process at this point in time. So as Kath, as the independent chair, has outlined, her task is to facilitate tonight and also write a report that may include recommendations that EPA will need to consider in our decision-making process. So in the works approval process, EPA has 2 distinct roles. First, and I guess the primary role of EPA is as the determining authority on the works approval application. So any time we have a works approval application, EPA is the decision maker on that application. Commonly, along with a works approval, an applicant may also require a planning permit approval, which is really about ensuring that it meets all the local planning laws and local planning schemes, and that's issued by the local planning authority. In this particular case, Wyndham already have planning approval for the site, so we're really only just talking about the works approval application tonight. So just to talk a little bit about the works approval process. So once an application has been accepted, submitted to EPA and accepted, EPA undertakes a referral process. So we refer it to other statutory bodies, other parts of government for their input, and we also advertise the application and make it open for public comment. So in the case of the application we're talking about tonight, Wyndham submitted their application on the 30th of November, and we accepted it in early December, and then it was advertised in various newspapers on the 14th of December. Typically our advertising period is only 3 weeks, but obviously in this case, given the timing of that, and Christmas and New Year's and the holiday season, we extended that time period and it was open for comment until the 7th of February. The other thing that EPA has done in this particular application is we've trialled an online advertising process just to try and ensure that people are aware of the application and have the opportunity to comment on it. And so that online process ran over the whole period. So following the receipt of submissions, EPA reviewed those submissions and determined that holding a conference that we're holding tonight would be useful and really was needed to help us fully understand the concerns that are being raised. After we review the submissions in terms of where the process goes from here, EPA works through a technical assessment. So we consider the submissions, we consider the outputs of tonight's conference, we consider the referral authorities and input from various EPA technical experts. and we finalise our technical assessment. And really, I guess the key things that EPA is assessing when we're making that assessment is whether the application will adversely affect the interests of any person other than the applicant, whether it will adversely affect the quality of any segment of the environment, and whether it will comply with all the relevant legislation and guidelines. In the case of a landfill application, the key risks that generally are a key focus for EPA are around odour and amenity issues, risks to groundwater, appropriate management of leachate, which is effectively the water that seeps through the waste mass, and we need to make sure that's collected and managed appropriately. And also the management of landfill gas and stormwater, among other things too. But they're generally our key focus areas. If EPA is satisfied that it meets all those things, that it's not going to cause detrimental impact on the environment, then we'll go ahead and issue an approval with conditions. If we're not satisfied, then we will refuse the application. And at that point in time, EPA will notify all submitters and the applicant of our decision and make available our assessment report and all that, so that people are really clear on what the decision is, why that decision is being made, because then there are appeal provisions for both the applicant and affected third parties to challenge the decision at VCAT. Throughout the works approval process, EPA can request further information at any time. And in fact, in this particular case, we've already done that. So on the 19th of January, EPA served a formal notice on Wyndham requesting further information, and that information was around seeking additional information on existing groundwater conditions, leachate management, and also stormwater management. So EPA is yet to receive a full response to that notice, but when we do, we'll make that information available. We'll let all the submitters know that we've received that information. We'll make that available, and we'll provide a 2-week opportunity to comment on the additional new information. So we'll make that available. So the submissions that we've received. So as I said earlier, we've received 175 submissions from members of the community and some from other organisations as well. The submissions are available on our website. So there's a number already up there, and if there's any that we haven't got up there, because we have received some just in the last few days, we'll have them up there shortly. But as you can see from the table on the screen, there's a whole range of topics of concern that have been raised through these submissions. So I guess it's important to know that EPA will consider all these topics of concern and all the submissions that have already been made. We'll consider all those in our assessment process. But tonight is also an opportunity for us to fully understand those concerns and make sure we understand what matters and what's important to you, and can take account of that in our assessment. So next steps. As I said, once we've received the further information, which has been asked of Wyndham, we'll make that publicly available, we'll make that information known. Kath, as the independent chair of tonight, will produce a report in the following 2 weeks about tonight, and that may include recommendations to EPA. Again, we'll make that publicly available. EPA will then work through our technical assessment, checking compliance against legislation, analysing the key issues to determine whether or not there is likely to be pollution or environmental hazard, which will inform our decision making. And ultimately, we'll make a decision on this application, either to approve with conditions or to refuse. And again, at that point in time, we'll notify all submitters and relevant parties of that decision, and we'll make our assessment report publicly available.